What's up, everybody? Welcome back to CK Café. This is Ethan Felizzari-Castillo.
And I'm Rosie Dean.
So we're doing this via video chat, which we normally don't do. Usually we do these intros together, but you are filming a movie right now. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Actress, you amazingly talented actress. You're doing such wonderful, wonderful projects.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
It's annoying because as soon as my career starts to pick up, so does my acne. So shout out to
That's
these.
normal.
So shout out to these star-shaped pimple patches. They're my true saving grace.
Honestly, I love those things. Those things look super cool because it kind of looks intentional. Like you put those on your face and you just like go somewhere. It looks like you're just like wearing little stickers on your face.
Know. You said the other day that I would probably wear them even if I didn't have acne, and I think you're right.
I think you would. I really think you would. So today we are going to talk a little bit about festivals and networking and all of those fun things that we get to do as independent filmmakers. I think festivals are so important because they provide a sense of community, which is what I think they are best for. I think maybe the traditional festival back in the day was utilized for distribution opportunities or maybe sales opportunities. And now I think with distribution being as broken as it is, I feel like that model is kind of disappearing. And the conversations that people seem to be having at these festivals are less about like, hey, let me tell you my movie, and more just like, hey, how can we connect so we can make the next thing, you know?
Yeah, really big. I'm very into independent cinema, TikTok and Instagram, and I follow a lot of indie filmmakers. This one girl I follow, someone asked her how to get her feature film rolling in the process of being made. And she said the best thing you can do is go to film festivals and meet people and build your team by like going out and going into these spaces and like actually forming connections with people. And I think with the growth of independent film, that's really like what it is going to come down to, is like going into these rooms and genuinely making connections with people, not to like tick off, you know, boxes on a list, but like to actually grow your network in a really organic and exciting way.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like right now we're in this weird place where, you know, movies are only happening with community. Like if you want to make an independent film outside of the studio system, you just need a really, really good community. And that's like all that is working these days. Like nothing else is actually working. I think it's so important. I think festivals, we're at this really interesting inflection point right now with festival to networking events. The best festivals to go to that I'm finding as a filmmaker who has a bunch of projects, and I'm sure you agree as a producer and an actress and overall creative, they're the local film festivals. The smaller film festivals feel like the best ones to connect with people because everyone's kind of there for the same reason with the same kinds of agendas. At some of these bigger festivals, everyone is just trying to get their movie sold, get their movie funded, get their movie made, whatever. But I feel like on a smaller macro level with these indie local festivals, it's so much more personal. Like you meet somebody and you can actually work with that person. And usually if it's in your own community, you can meet up with them the next day for coffee. And that's what this episode and our interview later on today is. That you know, Mridul from Queens Film Festival. And I think what they do is so important. They're highlighting Queens filmmakers, although they do accept films from all over the world. Their goal is to highlight Queens film and to bring global film to Queens, specifically the independent stuff. And that's features and docs and shorts. And it's a really, really cool lineup that they have this year. I got a chance to take a little peek at some of these films, and it's just so special. This film festival is happening in July, so make sure you visit the Queens Film Festival website for all the information on it. I think local film festivals are where it's at. We were just at Tribeca here in New York, and it was amazing. It was so much fun to go to panels and see a movie at Tribeca. It was the first time I ever got a chance to get a ticket. Was it your first time at Tribeca too? It was,
yeah,
right?
It was.
Yeah, it was really cool to be in the middle of that larger festival and go and network and meet some people. But at the same time, it's a different kind of energy. Those big festivals feel great and important, but it also feels like those smaller ones are way more personal.
I feel like the bigger festivals are where you go to learn, and the smaller festivals are where you go to connect. And not to say that you can't make meaningful connections at bigger festivals, but you have to be so mindful and respectful of people's time there, because there are some really heavy hitters in the industry that are giving their time to that festival to, benefit the community, especially a lot of the talks we went to being free and accessible to local filmmakers. I think that was so amazing. But at the same time, you want to be gracious of people's time and respectful of the rooms that you're in, and not ever come across like you're pushing too hard or forcing connections.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
think when you're in those bigger film festival spaces, it's really important to be really mindful and just appreciative of people's time. Go in there, soak up everything you can, make note of who you want to maybe reach out to at a later date. And then when you're at the smaller scale film festivals, the more, I don't know, the more like independently run, small scale indie filmmaker festivals, that's really the opportunity to talk to everyone whose project inspired you and ask everyone what they did and how their experience was, and see if you can connect with people that you think might align with you creatively, and build relationships. I think it's such a beautiful thing. I think they're both beautiful, but in different ways. But I think the key is showing up and reading the room and like
Yeah.
knowing, is it to connect? Is it to listen and learn?
I agree. Reading the room is so important because it's like you go into some of these festivals and you have this big idea in your head, like at this festival, I might meet the person that's going to invest in my movie or make my movie happen or buy my film. Every room is different. You don't really know what that room's going to be like until you're there. The type of connection you're trying to make is dependent on the people that you just happen to meet. Those forced networking events where you're forced to connect with people, I think a lot of them do work, but I think the problem becomes that too many people are, again, going after the same kind of thing and are really only looking for one kind of connection. But like you said, when you go into a room with an open mind and just kind of read the room, I think you become less disappointed because the connections you make become more meaningful now.
Yeah, everything's organic, and you don't run into the situation of like, raise your hand if you're a writer director looking for funding, and it's like 99 out of 100 people, and the one producer is like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think so much of what leads to a successful film festival experience is just showing up as your authentic, grounded self and being open to experiencing other people's art and taking it with you, whether that's into conversations with the filmmakers or just forward in your own creative journey.
I think that's awesome. You're so right. Well, if you're in the New York area, you should really go and attend the Queens Film Festival. You'll hear Mridul in just a second talk a little bit more about why he started the festival. But, we encourage you to go and look up festivals happening in your area, even if it's like happening at a local independent theater. Go check it out. Go see what's playing. Go look at some of these young up and coming artists and see how you can connect with them and support them, because at the end of the day, it's all about community. What we're learning while we're fundraising for our first large scale feature and other projects that we're working on, we're learning more than anything is that community is everything. It doesn't matter about just finding one investor or finding that one person is going to give you all the money. It's about how can we together as a community build a movement. And at festivals and at these local events, that's where we can build that community.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we're
go
learning
out
that
there.
not even just in the fundraising phase. Like, we learned that mindset was really helpful even when you were just assembling your department heads and everything. Like,
You're
you
right.
met our editor at a film festival, short that
Yeah,
you did. And a lot of the people that we know are connections that we've made from networking. Filmmakers who are so hesitant to make something because they need it to be perfect. And I think going to these, or perfect in their eyes, it needs to be their exact vision. And if they can't execute it the way they have it in their head, then they're just not going to do it.
yeah,
They're not going to make it until they can make it how they envision it to be. And I think these festivals are a great reminder that, oh, there are people who are just making it the way that they have the means in the moment, and they're putting it out there, and then they're on to the next thing. And that's a really efficient way to move as a filmmaker, I think. And getting to local festivals and seeing people who are out there on the grind, releasing and moving on to the next, is a really great thing to do if you are someone who you think is potentially holding yourself back with perfectionism.
yeah, I agree. If you're going to go out there and make it, it's easier to make it when you've seen other examples of people who have just gone out there and made it.
Well, without further ado, let's roll into Ethan's conversation with Mridul from Queens Film Festival.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? Welcome back to the CK Café. Today, I am joined by
Mridul Sharma of
Mridul.
Queens
How you
Film Festival.
doing? Yes, Queens Film Festival. Super cool festival that I'm so happy to be a very tiny part of. But it's an exciting time for independent film in New York City. And it's exciting partially because of the amazing opportunities filmmakers are having to screen their work. So can you tell us a little bit about Queens Film Festival, how you got started, what it is? Yeah, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, it's a passion project, something that I started last year. We were incorporated late 2023, so this is our second year. We're going bigger and better for the Queens community, filmmakers, and movie lovers. So after working for a couple of festivals outside of Queens, volunteering or just being behind the scenes, I thought, you know what? Why don't I do my own? It was a lot of fun working for a festival in Brooklyn for 2 years. We had the biggest year in 2023. I decided to take all that experience, all that knowledge, and just do it right here in Queens. I'm a Queens kid, born and raised, grew up in Flushing, right on Casino Boulevard, not far from the Queens Library on Main Street. Queens is my home. I still live here, still live in what I feel is the greatest borough. So to give something back to Queens, to filmmakers here, because we have a lot of filmmakers, a lot of artists, to shine a spotlight on the borough, I figured why not just go for it and just provide that platform that so many Queens filmmakers need, so many of them deserve. This time around, we got so many great filmmakers, so many great films, a lot more Queens filmmakers.
You said it's going to be at the Court Square Theater. When does it start again?
Our first screening is going to happen on July 9th up until Sunday the 13th.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm looking forward to it. Last year, the reason why you and I met is because one of our films, Cosquillas, short film, was in your festival, and it was the inaugural first year of the festival. As someone who runs an independent festival that not just highlights independent films, but is independent in and of itself, what have you learned from year one going into year two, and what are you hoping to improve on this year and beyond?
Well, it's always a multitude of different factors. Last year, we did it at LaGuardia Performing Arts Center. We did it for 4 days. One thing I learned is that from the general audience that came, there is always a need for something like this, something grassroots, that the community can come by and just have fun, enjoy the nice ray of sunshine during the summer. Working for other festivals prior to our first year in 2024, one of the things I learned is that there's always a need for community. It's always not just about the filmmaker. It's not always about the art. It's not always about the festival in itself. It's always, if you do something for the community will show up, right? Feel the dreams. If you build it, they come. So this is something that I built. Definitely had help from family, help from filmmakers like yourself. Definitely a lot of people that I've met working for other festivals, and if they just wanted to show up and attend, if they just wanted to submit a work, every little bit of it helps. It's always about how do we get word out?
Yeah.
We're on social media, we're on Instagram, we're now on Reddit. So this year we just started posting on Reddit in the Queen subreddit or LIC. We certainly are getting a lot more buzz this time around. The community's showing up. I feel like there's always something missing from the conversation about New York City, where Queens is always some suburb of New York City. So I always figured that the conversation about Queens, it's never about Queens itself. It's never about seeing it as a part of the wider city. It's always about a separate and distinct, as opposed to be collectively equal. So I figured that with the festival seeking to improve, we got to shine the spotlight on the borough.
I think the best festivals in the world, I think most filmmakers who have been lucky enough to have their films play at festivals throughout the world, they'll all say the same thing. The more local the festival, the better it always is, right? And I think it's mainly due to the fact that there's more connection there. There's more of an intimate connection with community when you're able to show your work to a smaller community, especially when you're showing your work to your own community. And New York City is such a beautiful place, and that there's so many people here. There's so many artists. There's so many creatives here. And you're right. The boroughs and the way it's kind of divided, if you're not from New York and you're listening to this, it's it all does kind of feel like their own places. They all kind of feel like they have their own thing
Yeah.
going on, and they have their own identity and their own culture and subcultures and whatnot. So it's really amazing to see what you're doing, man, and what you hope to do with the festival and continue to spotlight Queens and specifically Queens filmmakers, but also still spotlighting filmmakers from around the world, because I love that idea of bringing global film to Queens as well. Just like we are giving our
Right.
culture and we're giving our films in Queens to fellow Queens natives, you're also then allowing other people to come into the picture and say, hey, let's explore this together and explore other amazing artists and filmmakers from around the world. It's really a beautiful thing, then. So congratulations.
We had 2 Queens themed programs happening this year, and all the films are great. We have 10 programs, 35 films. When it comes to Queens filmmakers, I think we have about 8 filmmakers or
Amazing.
films that are local to Queens. We do have some from Brooklyn. We do have, I think, some from Manhattan. But despite not everybody being Queens, nonetheless, we're getting that connection being built with the filmmakers. They're definitely seeing that this festival does cater to them, and it does help them a lot. We love films, we love filmmakers, and given how great independent films are these days, why wouldn't you want to come see an independent film? Even given with the challenges of independent
Yeah.
filmmaking, it's a lot better than what you're getting in the mainstream at the moment. Even with the challenges of the pandemic, the strikes.
I was at Tribeca this week having conversations with some friends about where independent film is, and one thing I'm noticing is that like independent film is at an all-time high when it comes to what the consumers want. But the studio systems and the larger bigwigs of Hollywood and the people who are able to finance these films and these larger companies, they are not making those independent films. So it's this weird demand with very little supply. And the thing is that the supply is out there. It's just extremely hard to find. And you have to find festivals. We're lucky to live obviously in a city like New York, where every independent film tries to at least do some form of a theatrical run or is playing at a festival or whatever. So you have more opportunities. And I think that's what your festival does so well. And I think what other local festivals do really, really well are that it's hand curated projects. You know, the programs are really thoughtful. They're not just let's throw in a bunch of movies together that don't really make sense, whatever.
Yeah.
They're cool movies, you know. It's really thoughtful. It's really curated, not just for filmmakers, but for the people who are going to go consume the media too. Or at the end of the day, we as filmmakers, we don't just make movies for ourselves. We make it for an audience. And a film festival is that perfect bridge between an audience and a filmmaker. And I think you just do that so well. I mean, the films that were selected this year, very hand curated, hand picked. It's a very special program that you've set up. And even last year was a really special program too. So I encourage anyone who's listening, if there is a film festival in your town, whether you're in New York or you're in LA or you're in, you know, somewhere else in the world, if there's a film festival in your town or a local film screening or film series, go to it, because some of the best films and most intimate films about your experience happen at those festivals, because the Queens experience is a very specific experience compared to the Staten Island experience, compared to the Long Island experience, compared to the Manhattan experience. So what you're going to get out of those films is going to be entirely different. And if you are from those areas, it's so amazing to see yourself represented on those screens. One thing I really want to highlight is what you had mentioned before, the connection that filmmakers are making with one another. I think that that's like another big pull for local festivals, is the idea that you can network, right? Sometimes when you go to these large festivals, there's events, and if you're lucky, you get invited to certain things, you get to go to some panels, whatever. You talk to a handful of people, but it doesn't really feel the same. At a local film festival, you feel like you can properly connect without necessarily trying to get something from someone, right? When you're at one of these large festivals, it's usually, I have a movie and I'm trying to get this movie made. I have this and I'm trying to have this happen. Whether you're looking for distribution, you're looking for financing, it always feels like there's some larger ulterior motive at a festival. And it also feels endless. It feels like, so you don't know who is at the same level as you. You don't know who is the important person you need to talk to. You don't necessarily have the time to talk to everybody. I think what you've done so well with this festival is not just having opportunities for people to meet afterwards, but be able to connect with filmmakers that are local, and they can finish up the festival, have a really wonderful time, connect on social media, and then maybe go out to some coffee. So could you explain a little bit more about how Queens Film Festival puts an emphasis on that sort of connection for filmmakers, and how you emphasize that in the festival's DNA?
Yeah, it is just part of how obviously this is a passion project. This is all self-financed. So, I'm putting in my own time, a lot of my own money to get this done for the community. Part of the connection that filmmakers, if you're in Jersey, Brooklyn, even if you're just another creative, the connection that you have with independent filmmaker, it's always about collaborating. What local festivals do, you kind of already have a connection. You already have some common ground. Like, for instance, I'm from Flushing. The other filmmaker, he's from College Point, which is right next door. So when you bring these filmmakers that are in these neighborhoods, you already know that they know the borough well. They know the neighborhoods well. They know where the community is. Those certain community aspects of growing up in the community, you find that everybody has something in common.
That's
That
it.
already breaks down the barriers, realizing the power of independent cinema is, as much as it can help their careers, it's gonna help everybody that enjoys films. And obviously one of the main things that this festival does, like so many other local festivals anywhere in the world, is that the best way to get word is by putting in the effort to submit to these festivals, but also community gets to see it. But you come out, they show their support, and they're like, wow, well, I had no idea independent film could be this amazing, this brilliant.
This local,
That's
right?
just
Like,
way-
it happened in my backyard. Yeah.
We have 2 films on our opening night. They were literally shot in the neighborhoods, the local streets.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that's something that's so beautiful. And like you said, to speak on the connection too, you connect with filmmakers in a way that is just so special at a local independent festival. And I think the large ones have their place. There are some really good big ones that have some amazing programs for filmmakers to get grants and continue to grow their career and continue to make the art that they want to make. I think there's really great programs there, but I think every time my films have ever played at local festivals, or any of our films at CK, we have seen that the response is so much more specific. We can have a serious conversation about what we just saw together. And that's the whole point of art. Every single festival that is hand curated, that is as thoughtful as this one, is an important one to go to attend, to connect with other filmmakers at. So, I'm excited for everything that you're doing, man. And I'm excited for the future of Queens Film Festival. I think you have a really great format here, and I'm really hoping that you can continue to grow and push this thing and make this the biggest, baddest festival in Queens, man. It's the biggest, baddest festival in the borough.
That's the whole point. It's go bigger and better. We do have fun stuff planned. Merchandise is certainly happening. We're going to be close to announcing that on our socials.
Well, man, this has been amazing. I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up here. What is your favorite movie of all time? I know it's a hard one. You can give me multiple if you have.
That's easy. I mean, it's The Godfather. Classic 70s film, probably the greatest, maybe not, if not the greatest, not decade.
Godfather 1, 2, 3.
The first one. The first one was my favorite film.
I watched it recently for the first time ever. Don't tell anyone. I hadn't seen it. And I was like, it's always one of those movies that everyone's like, oh, great American cinema. And sometimes I think like those movies, you just like, it's always going to be there. I'll always have a chance to watch it. And then I just kind of put it off. And I remember watching it for the first time and just thinking, man, so most of these techniques, if they weren't invented here, they were popularized here. And it's so beautiful to see that film's influence specifically in American cinema. Special film. Well, thank you so much for hopping on today, my friend. If you can just quickly let people know where they can follow the festival and how they can pick up tickets to come to the festival.
Yeah. Yeah, so tickets are on our website. Information on our program, queensfilmfest.com, 10 programs, 35 films. Tickets only cost $20 each per program. Instagram at Queens Film Festival. And yeah, so we're everywhere. We're everywhere. We're posting. We're posting now as we speak about all the
Man,
programs and the films and just getting word out. So yeah, queensfilmfest.com/tickets. Court Square Theater on 23rd Street in Long Island City, right around the Court Square train station. So we hope to see everybody there.
it's going to be amazing. Hope you come out. Well, man, thank you so much for hopping on the show today. We really
course.
appreciate it. And yeah, long live Queens, long live Queens Film Fest.
Yeah, and we're going to go bigger and better every year from here on out.
That's amazing. Let's do it. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to today's episode of CK Cafe. We really appreciate it. As always, you can follow us online at CK Productions NY on all social media platforms. We're most active on Instagram and Threads, so please check us out there. There you can find all of our branches and stuff, and you can support all of the things that we do, from music to film to theater and all the above. Please, if you can, consider coming to the Queens Film Festival. We'd love to see you there. Rosie and I will be there for most nights. So please come check it out, network with us. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk film. Let's talk arts, entertainment, all that stuff. And as always, thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day.